Calling the roll, Ms. Simon?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Schrein? Mr. Schrein is absent at the moment. Mr. Brady?
Here.
There is a quorum. Also, I'd like the record to reflect that Councilman Miller is in attendance.
Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment related to the agenda?
No, Madam Chair, no one is signed in.
And we have our minutes from May 17th, our meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved, and we're here today to get an overview of ordinance 2014-0036. Madam Clerk, can you read that ordinance for the record?
Ordinance number 2014-0036, amending section 804.01 of the Cuyahoga County Code by adding a new section 804.01D to establish a post-secondary small business internship component to the educational assistance program and renumbering subsequent sections.
And we have a substitute that I'm going to ask Councilman Miller to address.
Okay. Thank you very much, and Madam Chair and my colleagues, thank you for hearing the legislation and Resolution 2014-0036 creates a third component of County Council's post-secondary education assistance program and experiential internship program. And this is a pretty old piece of legislation, and at the time we decided rather than immediately going forward that we would first conduct a pilot program, which was done in 2016, highly successfully, and we'll talk about that later. But basically, the substitute updates the legislation based on our experience with the pilot program, and the substitute is a little bit broader than the pilot program in that the pilot program was specifically limited to college students, where the as expressed in the pilot program or in the substitute, that the program will be able to serve not only college students but also people that are in other kinds of vocational post-secondary training type programs.
Council President.
Yes, Councilman, I was trying to catch up with the history of the legislation, and I think I've filled in most of the blanks, but I was wondering if you might, for the benefit of the committee, remind us sort of where, where the history behind this legislation. I mean, this I think started off as Councilman Rogers' initiative, but in 2014, I guess certainly after Jillian had left, you got involved, but that is your third component that's in this legislation is an addition to the first two components that were in Julian's legislation back in 2012. Could you kind of help get us back on course here with?
Okay, well, as you know, as everybody knows, the county charter includes language which encourages county government through the council to assist with post-secondary education, and so we set up a program that's run by the county council, and it contains two features. It has one program that's run through college now, and then it has a second program that for students that are coming close to completing vocational type programs that are within a year of completion. And so what this legislation was intended to do is to create a third component to that overall program, which is a post-secondary level experiential internship program. And so when the legislation was drawn up, it was drawn up as a third component, but we decided to, rather than implementing it immediately, to conduct a one-year pilot program, and we found funding in the last biennial budget of $100,000 to do so, and the pilot program was implemented, and with a great deal of success, and so this legislation is designed to implement this internship program as a third component. And the legislation itself doesn't create any funding for the program. That would be decided through the biennial budget process later on in the year. But this legislation simply creates this as a third authorized element to the county's post-secondary assistance system.
Could you tell us about the third component, its relationship with COSI, and that's the nature of it, correct? Internships for small businesses?
Yes, I've prepared a little presentation which this relates to. So if I could, go into that.
CDU, I'm not sure.
Do we want to deal with this substitution first, Dale?
It's up to you, Madam
Let's
Chair.
just
That
do
would be
it.
fine. Okay.
So I asked to begin with what the brief substitute was, and I'm just going to move to substitute. Why don't I do that now? We have a substitute, proposed substitute in our packet, and it goes to some of the eligibility questions. Is that what it is?
It does.
So basically, it changes the, there's a 18-year-old or older eligibility and secondary education diploma or equivalent to participate in the program, the internship. And so I can move now that we get the substitute in front of us. All in favor? Okay, so that passes, thanks. No opposition. So what we're adopting now is the substitute, and we'll be looking at the substitute of 2014-0036. And you can go forward with the presentation. But right now we have the two components of the program. It's about $1 million. It is $1 million. Component one is College Now, and we have the workforce component, which is a second component. And we always envisioned this third component to have an internship piece. And we had the pilot. I heard it went really well. And now we're here to look at the substitute and see how we want to move forward with the third component. Councilman Miller.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to talk a little bit about the pilot program, and first of all, I should say that that Khalil Seren just did a phenomenal job in terms of conceptualizing this and pulling the various pieces together and working with a lot of different options and moving parts to come up with a workable program. The pilot program had special features to create a very special experience for students and useful results for businesses. The program serves students at the college level. The internship sponsors were small businesses. Youth Opportunities Unlimited acted as the lead coordinator. COSI provided assistance in working with the small business partners. Tri-C helped in recruiting students. Each student intern worked on a specific and needed project on behalf of the business sponsor, rather than just providing general assistance. The project areas were things that small businesses needed but have difficulty finding time to do, including finding additional sales leads, developing a marketing plan for a product, and improving social media presence. The pilot program worked both as a summer program and as a program during the regular school year, and was successful at both. Students gained real-world experience and developed useful relationships. The project-specific nature of their work provided specific experience for resume building. Businesses got projects completed that they would not have completed otherwise. The proposed legislation tracks the pilot program while being a little broader. Participants will be of college age and will be required to have completed high school or equivalent, but don't need to be college students. They may also be students who are completing or have recently completed other kinds of post-secondary education programs. Intern sponsors may be nonprofits as well as businesses. This legislation will help small businesses. It will help students gain real-world experience and build useful networks. It will foster relationships that encourage students to live and work in Greater Cleveland after completing their education. Because of the focus on small business, this program will also support diversity and inclusiveness. A very significant percentage of the intern sponsors in the pilot program were minority and or female-owned businesses. Carol Richmond, Executive Director of YOU, and Michael Stanek, Director of COSI, are here today to provide additional information about the pilot program. I'd like to thank all of our program partners and Khalil Seren from our council staff, without whom this program would not have been possible, and I ask for your support of the legislation.
Okay, thank you. Are we going to hear about the summer internship pilot in more specifics? I think we'd want to hear is that part of your plan today? I mean, through this committee? Since you have the...
If you're willing, Ms. Richmond and Michael Stanek played key roles in running the pilot program, and they're prepared to provide us additional information.
Yeah, I think we need to hear the details. If you're seeking to base this ordinance on the pilot program, is that correct?
Yes, they are prepared to talk about the pilot program in considerable detail.
Okay. So want to come on up? Hi, Carol. And
It's kind of like being on the county council.
Benefited from some of the interns that are in the program.
okay.
So first, let me just give you a few thoughts. The goal was to involve small business owners and help college-age students, 18 to 24, with a paid hands-on work experience. The pilot, because it was a pilot. Sorry, it actually had two phases. We had the summer phase and the fall phase. The summer phase provided what I'll call the traditional hands-on internship in a career field that the interns were interested in. For example, if an intern was interested in architecture, they could be an intern at an architectural company. But in the fall, the small business employers mentored the kids both times, but in the fall, the students undertook a specific project for sales, marketing, or social media that benefited the company specifically. There was support and technical assistance provided by YOU, support to the small business owners provided by COSI, and in the fall, because so many of these were Tri-C students, the Tri-C faculty also provided support. So a total in this pilot program of the summer and the fall, a total of 43 students went through the program with 27 different employers who participated. Both formats were very successful. The students gained professional contacts. They felt they increased their network. They increased technical skills. All received about $1,000 stipend upon their completion of the program. And all the students recommended the program. They thought it was great. The summer cohort had students from universities and colleges around the country, from Howard University, Ohio State, CSU, every place.
In the fall, however, Steve Millard came up with a great idea. I give him the credit. He's the executive director of COSI. His idea was because we had a strong relationship with Tri-C to specifically get Tri-C IT students to work on a project that's related to IT, for example, social media, marketing, something that would get these kids involved in a small business. And that was very successful. So the greatest value of the internship was that it specifically targeted small business. These are companies who traditionally don't provide internships because they don't believe they have the time or the money to do that. And as you know, so much of the growth in our economy is coming from small business. So finding a mechanism, getting them a way that they're excited about this is very important. So we asked Mike Stanek to talk specifically about his experience with the program.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. As Carol mentioned, Mike Stanek, I'm the owner of Hunt Imaging in Berea. We're a toner manufacturer, been located in Berea since 1974, 27 employees. And I'm also, as she mentioned, the chairman of the board of COSI, the Greater Cleveland Partnership Small Business Arm. We were, as Hunt Imaging, we've participated previously in an internship program, and I would say without a doubt, this particular program was head and shoulders above the other participation that we had. And I thank you for your support of the program this past summer. At Hunt Imaging, we brought on 2 interns. We had one in the sales area and one in the marketing area. April was our sales intern, and she did some prospecting for us. We manufacture toner for some large companies, Xerox and Kodak. We also have some aftermarket toner, our own Hunt Imaging branded toner that we sell into the high-speed computer printer market, competing against the IBM printers. And so the role that April took on was to find the locations of these printers across the country so that we could make the sales call, follow up, and make a sales call to sell toner into these facilities. These are typically the back rooms of banks, larger institutions that run these printers print 500 to 600 pages a minute. So you don't find them just in every mom and pop type shop. So she unearthed a number of leads for us that we had not come across before, and were able to make sales calls into those particular operations. Logan, in the marketing area, one of the things, our specialty is microtoner, magnetic image character recognition, which is typically used for check printing. And as we all know, fewer and fewer checks are being printed, so the need for that toner is starting to decrease. So we're looking to break into some new areas, and the role that Logan took on was to do some market research for some ancillary products that we might be able to get into, dealing with the security printing, possibly printing on electronics with electrostatic products such as toner. The thing that impressed me about both of these young people was the maturity level that they had, the hands-on role that they were anxious to play, and the way that they really took the bull by the horns and dove into these projects. It required very little oversight, although we provided the oversight and had a weekly meeting with each of them over the course of their internship. But they were truly advanced in their preparation to serve in that internship. The other thing that I particularly think worked well was the interplay between the 3 organizations. The oversight by YO and coordination by YOU, the fact that COSI was bringing not only businesses that could provide the internships, but was also providing mentors for the interns. So each intern also had a COSI professional, a business owner who provided mentorship in addition to the business owner that they were working for. And Tri-C, which provided not only the students, but provided faculty oversight. So the students had that support network behind them also. So I think the combination of those 3 is what really made this program one that I felt was top-notch.
And just one more thing. Of course, we're glad to have the youth be participating from colleges and universities. It's just by expanding, there are a lot of youth who are in certificated programs. They're not in college, but they're in a phlebotomy program. They're in in the magnet manufacturing program. They're in a lot of IT programs at various companies and nonprofits around the community who could also benefit from being in this program. I also think it's a very important part of the workforce and economic development plan where we're connecting, we're identifying those industries that are growing and those youth who are interested in participating in those industries and making a match. So we want to do what we can to encourage businesses of all kinds to hire these kids after the internship is over. We're not there yet. We have to continue the program, but the pilot indicated to us that small businesses are really getting some value out of this, and we believe the next step, as you move forward, will encourage more job and wage increases for the young people that are participating in the program.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Council President?
Thank you. Thank you for coming today as well. So COSI is administering the program? Help me with the administrating part.
YOU ran it,
Okay.
but COSI broadcasted to all their members, hey, how would you like a kid for the summer
Okay, so
or for
you
the
guys
fall?
are kind of hand in glove,
So
but
we
you're
work
administrating.
together, but the secret of the success is, why haven't small business people participated before? It's because nobody understood the needs of small business. COSI helped us understand how Mike Stanik's company is so different from Rocketdyne, and we developed an internship that specifically met their needs.
So, Madam Chairperson, and how much were, and you probably know the answer to this too, but how much were the interns paid individually?
About $1,000.
About $1,000.
So about 50,000 of the money, it was about $100,000. About 50,000 went to staffing and making it all work out, and the other 50 was put in the pockets of the kids that participated in the program.
Now, staffing and making it all work out. What is that?
That was YOU.
That was YOU. So
there was a little-
50,000 of it went to YOU.
Yeah, well, some of it went to COSI, a little bit. I mean, I'd be glad to give you a budget.
Really, I mean, usually we have a department in front of us, so
Yeah.
this is a little bit, I don't want to be too, I would like to see, on paper, like, how many people, what companies that they worked for, that just.
I'm so
just that
glad
kind of
you asked,
basic
because we
information.
have this wonderful
Okay,
report that has all this, and let's put it in this perspective. It's about $2,000 per youth to be in this program, and 1,000 of that goes directly in their pocket. So it's a cost-effective program being run this way. But I will give this to Sunny, but then I'll email you this whole report. Now, the report doesn't try to sway you one way or another. It gives you the facts. How many kids were in the program? How many companies? What schools were the kids from? What did they say on their evaluation? Okay?
Okay.
Can I follow up?
Sure, yeah.
Council President, Carol, you said that in the past, perhaps we haven't been successful, someone hasn't been successful in identifying the needs of small businesses. And this marriage between COSI and your organization was able to accomplish this need to fill it. What in the past, what were you referencing? Like,
Well, actually, I think Mike had an experience. Is that right? Did you have, he had a bad experience.
I had an experience through another local college. We had
Shall
brought
remain nameless.
in an intern, and actually the program was horrible. It was a total waste of our time, and it was an institution that I would have expected a lot more from.
it wasn't a county program we're talking about when you
No.
say so what was missing?
Every college in town has an internship program. There are many internship programs going on. As far as I know, this is the only internship program that the county funded, except for what we do with TANF funding. And I can be here all night telling you all the wonderful things we're doing with TANF funding. So, but the point is that in our opinion, YOU is an honest broker between schools that understand kids and employers who understand what they need to make a profit. There needs to be an honest broker between those two. And YOU and Cozy put together this pilot that created this sort of relationship so that we have we have an internship that's designed with small business needs and run in a very cost-effective way.
Okay, I'm going to defer to my colleagues, but come back to the TANF funding in a different meeting to talk about, you're getting county dollars through TANF and how different or repetitive those dollars, how they're being used. And I think it's probably for the summer program, if I
Yeah,
to guess.
there's no repetition. There's no duplication. It is that because of county dollars, we're able to have 3,900 teens and young adults working this summer, and that we're making as many of those jobs into internships that we can. Okay, but that's TANF money, and the other reason we would like this program to include other nonprofits and organizations besides schools and colleges is to make sure there's diversity. You know, because the TANF students don't tend to go to these colleges and universities. The TANF kids tend to go to the local organizations to get their post-secondary credential.
Thanks. Good. Council President, would you have a follow-up? And then I'm going to move down.
Somebody, I don't want
Okay.
to, I've been,
Councilman Jones and
I don't want to
then
bogart the
Brown.
council meeting.
Then we'll come back to you.
Well, Council President, you asked many of the questions I was going to ask, but the dollar amount is $1 million. Is that the amount that is being given by the county? What is the dollar amount?
The county gave money for a pilot program.
$100,000.
$100,000. But the overall dollar amount is where does 1 million come in?
There's
The college assistance program that the county already has established through our council's legislation is $1 million.
Julian Rogers, this all starts with Julian's
Right, I remember.
program.
Yeah.
And then Dale picked up on it with this new angle that sounds very interesting. My only issue is going forward. There would be an expectation that I would have that this would mean that we would be looking to make room in the budget for this program. And while I don't have any opposition to what I think is would be that expectation, even though there's no money attached to this legislation. I'm not speaking for the councilman or anybody else, but I think one of the things we need to know is get some feedback about where the administration is on all of this, so that because I think that would be appropriate.
And I just want to, the privilege of the chair, that we're reviewing the workforce component as well. And when we discuss our budget and we discuss these programs and components, part of what I want to do is, as I always do, is bring in workforce and in College Now, but we really need to pin down the workforce piece, I think, and see whether we're going to continue to fund workforce at that level and see if it makes sense to diversify that funding. And Cleo and I have been looking at that for a while. So that's going to be happening through this committee. We're not going to look at this in a vacuum. We have to look at the entirety, including the administration's vision. Okay.
I'm done.
Okay. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just so we're clear, the $1 million total, does that support all three components or, okay?
No, we already have been doing this as components 1 and 2.
Right, there are three
Workfor-
components: College Now, Workforce, and the internship, which the pilot in 2016, which consists of $100,000, if I understand you correctly. So the parts 1 and 2 is how much?
Million.
So this is 1.1 with this
This
pilot.
is not part of our education assistance program. This pilot program is separate from the from the education assistance program. We've already have that budgeted for years. This is a pilot program that's separate and apart from from council's legislation.
Okay.
I understand though, because you need to be walked you do need to be walked through. I had to be like, take a refresher, but you had to sort of be walked through, where we started with Julian's legislation and how much we put, in that and the 2013 budget. I mean, I get confused. Then your legislation was introduced in late 14, and then that became a pilot program. And so now here we are, knowing we're going into the budget process. The chairman of the finance committee is the sponsor of this legislation, so I'm sure he understands what I'm leading to here.
Yes, Madam Chair and my colleagues, the pilot program was funded with $100,000 that was entirely separate from the other two components in the college assistance program, with the understanding that if the pilot program were successful, that we could then consider incorporating this as a third component into the post-secondary assistance program, which is what we're considering at this time.
That helps clear things up a little bit for me. So I have a couple of questions for Carol and Mike. If you could, I understand we're roughly about 50 students in, and are the students that participated, am I to understand these are neither college bound but they're post-secondary students, or?
They are all college students.
Oh, they are college.
Every one of them attended a college around the country or a Tri-C.
Okay, but the eligibility requirements, then I would yield to Mr. Miller, will not require future students to be college students.
That's correct. When we discussed the outcome of the pilot program, we felt that the pilot program worked very well, but that it could be very beneficial to students beyond college students per se, and that it could include people in other kinds of training programs, and that this would also expand its diversity and enable it to serve a population that it would be very beneficial to serve. And so when we did the substitute, we broadened the eligibility in that aspect so that it could serve those students as well.
Okay, thank you. And Carol, I understand, if I understood correctly, there are no hires that came out of the program.
That's correct.
The time frame, how long were the interns working on average for the small businesses?
6 to 8 weeks
6 to 8 weeks.
on average.
Okay, and you said that they were paid $1,000 at the end. What?
It was a stipend. In other words, we decided not to pay them by the hour, but we wanted to give them a respectable amount of money so that if they were doing this instead of a summer job, that it was respectable. So they were actually paid a little bit when they met certain milestones along the way, and then the final payment was at the end of the program.
And then, okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's
Okay, and then the training component, Mike, I think you said that this internship program was head and shoulders above the rest. So, the training, does that come from IOU, or do you provide training to them? Like, can you elaborate? Because if you have a young lady who's unearthing leads for you, I'm sure she has to go through some type of database to identify what it is your needs are. And so can you kind of touch on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we were able to provide some of that as part of the internship. We were able to work with the two students and provide them some training, some background information, some databases to work from, and that type of thing. But both of them went above and beyond that on their own, and through network, internet searches, et cetera, we're able to find other avenues for both the market research piece and the sales lead piece. But a lot of the training too both of our interns were Tri-C students, and so through the classes that they had taken and were taking at the time, had gained a background that they brought with them that they were also able to draw upon.
And in addition, YOU provided some basic employability skills and workforce culture training for the students as well.
Okay, and then the applicant pool, was that something that that comes from the original YOU pool, or was this a separate applicant pool?
This was separate, but it was pretty easy to do because we have thousands of young people. We recruited young people throughout the community who fit the qualifications, which were they were in school or university and they were interested in an internship.
And then the one last question I have, Madam Chair, is with regards to the businesses that participated. You highlighted the fact that we were able to assimilate a program that was very beneficial to a small business. So, were you the Mike? Were you the person who crafted that criteria, or was that a collective effort, or was it based on the businesses that applied and said, hey, I'd like an intern, but can they do X, Y, and Z? Like, how was that established?
I think that was really established by YOU and COSI working together ahead of time. And then they did the matching between the students and the businesses. And to piggyback very quickly on something Carol said before, the training that YOU had provided to the students, our students, and in speaking with other business owners, every one of these students that was brought forward came in very professionally. They had a professional appearance, they had a professional approach, and that's a credit, I believe, to the training that YOU had given them ahead of time about how to present yourself, how to interact with the employer, et cetera.
So the schools are not doing that? You said all the colleges have intern programs. Is that, and is this something that the kids aren't appropriately matched or not, or prepped?
I think that basically we rely on the marketplace to handle this. Colleges, there are businesses, and you in the spring get calls from college students. Do you need an intern? Do you want so we're relying on the intern to get him or herself a position. There's no preparation for it. We figure they're college students. They're good. They know everything, right? We assume a lot, and maybe that worked 20 years ago. I don't think that's working as effectively today. Furthermore, we can do more to focus resources where we believe we're going to get the most bang for it. As I said, small business, Rocketdyne has always had interns. They always have engineering kids from CSU every semester. But what can we do to get more internships to happen in this community? Everybody wants them, okay? And that's research for another day. How many programs are doing how many internships, but not anywhere near enough. Why? Because that real world experience is worth everything. Can you imagine how wonderful that you're learning a little bit in college and then you go and have to do real work for Mike Stanek and find a real possible place for their company? I mean, that feeling is just so exciting for that college student. It was the first time they really had an experience that was like a real job.
Councilwoman, can I follow up with that? So if the businesses need these college students and they're performing well and the students are willing to work for a stipend, why aren't the small businesses simply just allowing these interns coming in without the assistance of the county giving them $1,000 and administer? I mean, why can't the businesses themselves seek out their own interns?
I think it's the fact that the opportunity was presented and was made so readily available was a big plus. And knowing that the support network was there behind the students, I think also was huge. I think that's what was really the differentiator with this particular program. My personal experience is only with one other program, so I can't speak for all the colleges, but that particular program did not have a support network behind the students and did not have milestones set up along the way to track the students' progress in carrying out their internship. And like I said, the program was very much worthless. It was a waste of our time.
Councilman Brown, I'm sorry. Continue.
I kind of wanted to speak to the question that you had, and I might be overstepping a little bit, but as as a person who has, and I think even Councilman Jones, and you probably could speak to this too, when we're trying to run our business and juggle those things, the resources to go through applicants is a very time-consuming task, and to try to identify the skill sets that would be most practical for you as a lawyer, or you as a funeral director, and me as a graphic design and marketing person would consume a lot. So I think there is value in having the matching of the partners with the business to the intern. So I can see the value in that. So I think that is a valuable component that the county can bring with that stipend and identifying good matches.
I agree. Small business owners are busy running around with chickens without a head, basically, right? And don't have the time to even bring someone in and train them or, identify them. I understand. I was just asking. I get it.
For your HR department is helpful.
It's your mom.
Add that when Khalil and I started working on this, and we were talking about the idea of a small business internship program, and we were talking about what are the impediments that prevent a small business intern program from being successful, and there were two that came to the top. One was the idea that we needed one or a couple of coordinating entities that knew about small businesses and knew what they need and want to help facilitate some of this process and facilitate the matching and identifying the students and that kind of thing. And the second thing was the idea of having students work on specific projects that were identified as things that small businesses really need but otherwise might not get around to because they're too busy doing this and that and putting out the little brush fires of the day. And it's those two things that we thought we could help with and in fact successfully did so in the pilot program.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
This was helpful. Okay, so we have this ordinance and it's in committee. We've had an overview. I think we want obviously to continue the exploration of how we want to steer the education assistance program, including a presentation from the workforce component of this, and bring them together and see how we're going to balance out the program and see if we want to incorporate this third component into it. And so I'll hold this and schedule a meeting for College Now to come back again, although they've been here many times, and then have the workforce piece come in and see how they're doing. Usually once a year I bring them in, and then as we go through this, we can see how we want to formulate and steer the program. And if the administration is interested to comment about this, they can come to the successive meetings I'm going to have on this.
Can I ask a question about strategy?
Okay.
It seems to me that there's two ways that we could do this, and one of them would be that that we would go to the administration and ask them to put in the upcoming budget money for this, for 2 or 3 components as we decide of this college post-secondary internship and the education program, generally all 3 components, and have the administration propose how much money they want to put into each of them, as opposed to the other strategy in which we would ask the administration to fund the program generally, but then leave it to us to decide how we're going to allocate it within the subcomponents.
Councilman Miller, I think what I just stated is clear that this, I'm bringing in people in the committee for us to decide how we want to steer our program. This is council's education assistance program. It's not the administration's program. I'm sorry I wasn't clear. This is up to
Okay.
us to decide how we're going to shape the program that we've shaped from day one of the new government, right?
Right.
This is the charter mandate for council to have an education program. So I'm sorry I wasn't clear. My expectation is I'm going to have a series of committee meetings to talk about how we're going to go forward with our program.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
I'm not asking the administration to tell council how to steer our program.
Okay. Fine.
Questions? Miscellaneous business?
Actually, I do have one
Okay.
question. The businesses that receive these internships, are they strictly the COSI membership, or are the small businesses broader than simply COSI's membership?
It wasn't exclusively COSI members. COSI helped us design the program, but we found small businesses to participate who wanted to.
Okay, thank you.
And no disrespect to the administration, I just want to see where they're at. You know, that's why I asked them to come. But in terms of this EAS program, this is our council.
Madam Chairperson, I think like we're all pretty much, really starting a process. I think I understand what the councilman's doing. It's just that while it's true, and it is, it's kind of an odd thing, but the charter actually charges the council to come up with an education program. And, so I don't know how that happened, but it did happen. So that's how we got down this track. But given the fact that we know we're going into the budget process, and the program, like a lot of other programs, seems like it might be a very good program. I'm hesitant to support a program that's not funded before we even begin the budget process. So that's why I would like to have some feedback from the administration about these issues. What you've outlined in terms of the work of this committee, I think is the appropriate way to go about it. I just want the administration to be part of that, even though it is our program, and we are charged by the charter to do this, and that's part of what we're doing. Although it might not be as apparent to people. I mean, it might be as easily understood by some people because it's not a scholarship program in the sense that Julian's program was a scholarship program. Now this is an intern program, so it's different.
Yes.
I think I perhaps asked my question a little bit awkwardly, but to put it simply, I'm just trying to get my arms a little bit around a chicken and egg kind of question of well, do we decide first on what the funding is going to be, or we decide first on if this is going to be a component and decide if so. So I was just starting to think a little bit around how we do that, and I look to your leadership to lead us on that.
Yeah, I'm really sorry I wasn't clear, but how I've always seen this education assistance program is we've had two components, and I'm pretty satisfied at least with one. The College Now piece I know is very effective. I know it's doing what it's supposed to do, but the workforce, to me, overlaps a little bit with what the administration wants to do with workforce. So that's the fuzzy area for me that I really need to get a real understanding of how we're allocating money toward that second component, and then see if we want to collectively on this committee see how we want to balance out these dollars, if we want to continue to give it that money when the administration has a vision for workforce. And that's the piece where they really need to step up, which they are. I know someone's watching this out there, but we need to work together on that piece, and this committee needs to say, where do we want to invest into this program? Do we want to expand it, and how are we going to move these dollars? Okay, so I think we're all on the same page, but I think it's really up to this committee, Education Committee and Council, to determine how we want to allocate these dollars that we've already invested in education. So it's the workforce piece that's always been very fuzzy. I think they're doing a good job, but I'm just not quite sure that they're achieving the goals that we want and want to continue. Do we want to morph this into a different place to be more, I don't know, just compatible for the overall picture? Okay, good. No miscellaneous business, any public comment?
Yes, Madam
Okay.
Chair, Ms. White Vaughn.
Good evening, afternoon. My name's Yvonne, and I live in the Glenville neighborhood. And I have a question that pertains to the program that was just presented, and I also have some comments. The College Now program, you are right, it does work, and I have had people to utilize it. Educational assistance I've not heard of before, but I would like to learn more about that and how people connect to that, even with regard to the program that was just presented. And workforce development that is by the county and the council, the administrator. Are there two separate programs or projects that you have going on in this city or in this county? And the question I have for the previous presenter was the interns that are getting a stipend from their program. YOU pays $7.85 an hour for their regular youth in the project, times 25 hours a week. Is that in addition to the stipend that YOU pays, or the hourly fee that YOU pays, or is that something separate? Is there two separate components in YOU that these people are allowed to participate in?
Okay, so thank you. We don't usually take questions and answers from the seat, but I'm going to ask you to speak to our staff, Cleo Seren, who will have some answers to your questions.
Thank you.
And by the way, I can just answer this. The Education Assistance Program is just an ordinance legislation we passed years ago. That's all it is. It's it's the name of our program. That's all it is. It has two components, and Cleo can fill you in.
As to the application or how people get connected to it, is that what Cleo can fill me into?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to adjourn. Thanks.